he turns to the camera and he's got just the biggest grin on his face. They hammer again and he looks back and goes, "Oh God." Like I got it all on camera on my phone.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast. Popping the top again,
That's
y'all.
right.
We got that yacht coming in hot with an extreme Young Guns edition of our turkey series.
You're Tim Chelswick.
You continue to be Matt Drury, much to the chagrin of so many people.
My wife. My family.
My
Anybody
wife.
that knows me.
So we're talking this episode about your son Cam's turkey kill.
And your daughter, Sophie.
And speaking of unimpressed, my wife was like, "Oh, you got a turkey? Okay, great. When are you guys going to be home?"
That sounds like my entire deer season. Like anytime you kill something, it's like, all right, what time are you going to be here?
On with the rest of them.
Can we get back to life?
Our normally scheduled programming.
That's right.
Jeez.
Well, so this week we're kind of interjecting the Young Gun series, like you said off the top here, with a special edition of the Young Gun series because we went out with our children this weekend for the Missouri youth season, and
just so people know, we have individual families. We don't
we're
co-parent.
not, from Utah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Sorry, but anyhow, moving on. So you guys were heading up north. You were hunting in Terry's stomping grounds, kind of.
Yeah, we went up to Kirksville. Zach and Gabby Plale invited me and Sophie up for youth turkey season. They're
good people.
They are really great people, and they rolled out the red carpet for us. And about a week ago, Zach mentioned that Forrest was going to come over and film. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got the dream team here because
and I'm a big boy.
Obviously Zach and Gabby are both great deer killers. They kill big deer consistently, but Zach loves turkey hunting.
Oh yeah.
He's eaten up with it. I
think at the heart of the Drury Outdoors crew, like the Mark's crew, Terry's crew, those kind of associated and the periphery, they're all ate up with turkey. Turkey is the first love of Drury Outdoors.
100%.
You could safely say. Yeah. And Zach grew up around it. I mean, his grandpa, John Williams, who worked, at Mark and Terry and for Drury Outdoors forever. Mm-hmm. He, making turkey calls and helped out back in the day at Mad Calls. And he was always making calls, and Zach grew up around it. So Zach, he was always in contests and making his own calls and all that good stuff. So he's a hell of a turkey hunter.
Well, we kind of connected at ATA this year, and him and Gabby said, "Why don't you and Sophie come on, and Bo, come on up for youth turkey season."
Bow madness.
And I was like, this could be a real circus. We'll see how this goes.
You sure you want Bo to come?
Because Bo is 7 years old. He's never been on a turkey hunt before. But we did a lot of practicing in the backyard, and both of them were shooting pretty good. And so we drove up Friday, took the kids out of school on Friday. And so that was already a win. They were excited about that.
Yeah.
And Bo was probably the most excited about the inflatable air mattress that Zach and Gabby had for us in the spare bedroom.
It's the little things.
Right. And so we went out Friday night and roosted some birds. And it was just neat to see kind of where they hunt. A lot of valleys that dip down off of these ridges where they've cleared out a few plots and everything. And Forrest came along with us, and the kids got to hear, I wanted them to be a part of that process. Like, hey, let's go find the birds that we're going to hunt the next morning. I didn't want it to be like a drag and drop and shoot the bird. So found a few birds. They weren't exactly where Zach was hoping they would be. So at 2 a.m., Zach went out and dropped a new blind for us. Jeez. I mean, you can't ask for someone to do more for someone else than what Zach and Gabby and Forrest did for
What are they
Sophie.
getting in return?
I'm kind of a delight. Oh, and so imagine having me as a house guest.
I can.
For any length of time.
I imagine it smells.
That's what I'm
like
talking
chicken,
about.
Canned chicken.
Yeah.
Maybe
Desperation.
Smells like
sweat.
Perspiration. Yeah. A lot of
little
sweat.
bit.
Stinky feet.
Brute aftershave.
But anyways, we digress.
So all of us loaded up. Zach, Gabby, Forrest,
Forrest in the back.
Bo and Sophie, all in Zach's Tahoe, and it was like a clown car in a parade, like a lot of people in one vehicle. We roll out, and Zach said, "There's an extra special treat waiting for you guys in the blind."
Poop. No.
What?
Go ahead. Anyways, go ahead.
You know something I don't. So we're walking out, and Bo is wearing Sophie's old Blocker Outdoors bibs and coat.
Yeah.
And the bibs are an easy 6 inches too long for him.
Yeah.
So I've got his like cuffed up huge, and it's probably a 200-yard walk, and he's like looking like Randy from the Christmas Story, flip flopping down the road. And he's got to pee on the way there. Perfect. So the train stops, and he gets it was something. But we get in the blind, and Zach had put a little buddy heater in there and turned it on.
Perfect.
And so the muddy blind was nice and cozy for him as we got in.
How many people did you have in the blind? What blind was it?
Well, it was one of those big muddy previews.
Okay. Those are pretty big too.
So it was me and Forrest and then the kids. Zach and Gabby posted up behind the blind about 20 yards, and that's what they were doing their calling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we heard birds right off the roost. We were in very close to them. In fact, closer than I think Zach maybe knew initially, which was great. Like the kids both looked at me like, ooh, yeah, they're really here. Because Sophie has spent, I think this is probably her 5th turkey season. She's put in a lot of time hunting with very little success.
Yeah, that's tough.
So to set up right on birds, that was already a win.
So they were gobbling good off the roost?
100%. Yep. And it was cold and windy. Like it was probably in the mid 30s.
Oh yeah.
But
it was clear, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Pressure, good high pressure, low wind speed.
The wind was greater than we thought it would be.
Oh, was it?
It was probably 10 plus miles an hour. So up on that ridge there, it definitely took the heat out.
They were hammering?
Yeah.
How many birds were you hearing?
There were at least 6 to probably 8.
Were they? So that's awesome.
At different locations, and one was very, very close. And so, like at first light, we heard some fly down. At first light, we could hear coming up from the right, kind of flanking us. And a gobbler popped his head up. And I'm kind of looking out the blind window, and I can see his big red head pop up, and he's looking around, and I think he saw Zach and Gabby's silhouettes against the tree.
Blame Zach,
because it was kind of a small tree, and
what kind of guide is this?
He starts putting, and he kind of flanks the decoys at probably 45, 50 yards.
Yeah.
And he hangs up, and Zach's calling to him, and you can tell he's conflicted, but he just doesn't come in. So I was like, that's cool. You know, at least we had a close encounter.
And you could see him?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I looked out the blind window, he was at 15 yards maybe, and just kind of looking around.
Was she using a bog pod? So were you kind of committed to
it was a death grip.
The decoy area?
Straight out ahead. There was no way with Bo in there and just too much stuff. Then we watched another group of 3 gobblers flogging each other on a connected ridge, probably at 100 or so yards. So that was cool. That was cool to see. But they were too busy fighting each other to even worry about the calling and the decoys that I don't even think they saw the decoys. And then, I don't know, maybe in the 7 o'clock hour, like plenty of light, I see a couple hens pop up from below the ridge at maybe 100 yards, and they keep coming, and there's probably 9 or 10 hens in this mix, and there's 3 gobblers trailing them. And Sophie sees it. Bo can kind of see it. And by the way, Bo did he did a much better job than I thought he would do in the blind, being quiet.
Good.
The preview blind helped because he couldn't see up out of the window, but he could see through it enough to know what was going on.
Yeah.
And these birds took a long time to get to us because we could watch them coming the whole way. And Sophie's like, do I stand up now or do? Because we had to set the bog pod up low enough to where Bo could get on it. So couldn't set it up high enough just for Sophie, because if Sophie killed, then it was reload and get Bo on it. So she's kind of hunched over, waiting and watching. And I was concerned with just so many birds that were coming.
Movement.
Make sure you hit a gobbler, don't hit a hen, and like all the kind of the basic stuff that as a kid,
That's
when
tough.
there's so much going on, and then and even like as they're approaching, she's like, "Which eye do I aim with? This one or this one?"
boy.
I was like, "The right eye. Your right.
The one you've always used.
The right eye." And
Am I gonna have to hit you?
and she had her Walker's razors on, and
those are lifesavers, but it does make communication sometimes a little tough. It's nice that they got you could hear the like speaking,
the ambient noises.
Yeah, but it still does kind of make it a little bit tougher.
Makes it even tougher when you turn it off, and that's what she had done. and I like creep my hand over, rolled it back on, and she was like, "No, I can hear everything." And I didn't ever explain to her that like it cuts out the shot,
gunshot. Yeah,
and so she flips it off again, and like, oh. We don't need this kind of drama in the last minute. Anyway, the hens are committed. Like they're coming up to check out these other the decoy hens, and the gobblers are strutting out. They're following, like they're doing everything that you want turkeys to do.
That's the best.
And I look over at her,
hooks the kids.
Her eyes are just huge. Yeah. And Bo's watching too. He's
quiet. He's doing good. He's not moving.
He's still kind of like, for Bo, he was good. For turkey hunting, it probably helped us out that the blind windows were up a little higher, so they
could see is maybe the top.
Because at that point the sun was like coming into the blind, like we were blasted with sunlight, which is not ideal. But they were so focused on the decoys, and the hens were definitely at ease. I'm like, this is good. So these 3 gobblers are coming in kind of shoulder to shoulder like they do. They start to go a little bit off, kind of down the slope of the clearing where you can't see, you just see their heads. I'm like, oh man, I hope they're not gonna try to flank us again. Yeah. Then they turn, they start coming directly in.
What decoys did you have out?
We had 6 decoys out.
Holy crap!
Yeah, they were. There was a lay down.
Spread.
There were a lay down. There was a breeder. There was a feeding hen, and then the rest were just jakes.
Yeah.
So I pull the hammer back on the gun, and Sophie gets on it, and she's using the correct eye, and Forrest is rolling the camera, which was super nice that I didn't have to pull double. I saw you had your phone going with Cam's kill. I was like, I don't want anything to go wrong.
Yeah.
Because she's had so many close calls.
It is tough. Like if I didn't have a camera guy, I don't know how I would do, because it definitely helps to be focused on helping the kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Because had something gone wrong because I was filming, I would have never been able to forgive myself. Yeah. So she's like, can I shoot? I was like, yeah. Because they're probably within 25 yards.
Was the gobbler standing still? Like that's the tough part when you're a kid, like when they're moving or working around a decoy, that's tough.
Yeah. So we had talked before the hunt that, hey, you want to get some separation. You don't want to injure another bird in the process of shooting your bird. They were coming in kind of shoulder to shoulder, broke up a little bit, but they were still kind of side by side as they were coming in. And they did not stop, but they were walking straight towards us. And she just let them,
how far?
Probably 20 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, the next level of turkey hunting is letting them work into the decoys and do their thing. She was a killer. She just wanted to kill this thing.
Sure.
She took the shot at the right time, rolled it backwards. It's flopping on the ground. And the tough thing was we didn't have time to celebrate because it's break the gun open, get a new shell in there.
Put it back on the bog pod.
Get Bo up. It was able to stay in the bog pod. Nice. It has a death grip thing.
Yeah.
Got Bo up there. And get him on the gun because one of the gobblers flew off. The third one though kind of hung up at 60 and was trying to make up his mind as if he wanted to come back. Zach started hitting a fighting purr and doing a good job of keeping him interested. And Bo could have taken the shot, but it just wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
So after that turkey worked off, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and I was fighting back the tears because I knew how
long time coming.
Yeah, how many early mornings, cold youth season sits, snow on the ground, empty woods, like all the things, and Sophie keeps trying.
Yeah.
And to me, like she's been a turkey hunter for a long time.
Yeah.
She's a turkey killer now.
Yeah. How old again?
12.
Yeah, good for her. I'm trying to think. That's probably about when I killed my first bird, 12. Or it took same thing, years and years and years, and it was like.
And she's so mature for her age in the sense that she realized, she's like, I'm glad that I had to struggle and fight for this bird because it means so much to me. And the other really heartwarming thing, like Forrest is so good with the kids. Oh, yeah. Zach and Gabby were so good with the kids. We could not have had a better turkey hunting experience. They had a great time. I could tell Bo was pretty much at his fill of turkey hunting. He's like, as we're doing pictures and videos, he's sitting there like slapping one of the turkeys with his sleeves that are too long. Yeah. And at one point I looked over, he was laying down, face down on the dirt with his hood over his head, just laying there. So I'm like, I think we'll just go home. Like we did what we needed to do, had a great time. Let's just go home. So Zach and Gabby and Forrest got their weekend back and their house back. And it was just such an incredible hunt.
Yeah, that's awesome. And such a nice gesture on their part to invite you guys up and
100%
roll, like you said, roll out the red carpet. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, because for kids, it's not just about the kill; it's about the experience around it, and are they going to want to come back to it? And Sophie definitely wants to. Bo definitely wants to. Yeah. So it was a great. It's
not the worst thing in the world for Bo to experience a couple more turkey hunts before he's the gunner.
Agreed.
You know.
Yep. Agreed.
So that's probably a good thing. You got to witness one, and see, and hopefully, the next year or so it's his turn.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of season left, and he wants to go out some more. So I'm like, Daddy would like to try to kill one, but we'll try to work some time.
Yeah.
But and then to have Forrest there. You can't ask for better footage, for better pictures. Sure. And I told Sophie, I was like, someday you'll probably fully appreciate this, but to have that experience and then to have it captured with such high quality, it's just beyond what most people could.
That expect. Picture of your group. And I guess, did he have a remote or timer maybe that forced?
Yeah.
God, it was so good. It was a very high quality photo.
Beautiful photos.
That's why I think I texted you. I said, that's a framer. Cause that's one you want to put in your office.
100%.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Cause I mean, literally it's the A team. Like it took a team of people to, that was my joke. I was going to say that, but as a dad, and you've probably experienced this, especially when you love turkey hunting so much, when you love hunting so much, you have to be careful to not make it about your experience of making the experience for the kids.
Yeah.
We're just very egocentric creatures, and we are kind of bent that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, super, super great. So I can't thank Forrest and Zach and Gabby enough for an awesome weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a ton.
Well,
of fun.
Congratulations to Sophie. Long time coming, and
thank you.
Well deserved for sure.
Heck yeah. But it was fun getting to send you the text about Sophie's kill and then hear about Cam's success.
Yeah. So we the night before I actually had Friday night. So last year we hunted kind of near the St. Louis area at one of my leases. But this year, because we're taking the First Farm Hunt Winter, I didn't want to
keep it pristine.
Yeah, I just didn't want to burn that spot. And so we decided to go up to my farm up in Rawls County, which is about, almost 2 hours away from the house. And so the night before I had actually a daddy-daughter dance at school with Lola. And so instead of going up the night before, roosting and kind of knowing where they're at and being close to the farm to get up and go over there, I knew we were going to have to wake up early and head up. And so, I had a couple trail cameras, cell cams out from fall still. And we had just listed the farm, so I kept them out, anyways, and just kind of get some intel for Aaron Bennett, who's the property's listed with. But anyway, so they weren't in great turkey spots, though. They were still in deer spots. And so I knew there were longbeards on the piece, but I didn't have a good bead on them. And we only hunted there for about 30 minutes last year. We had Adam Wainwright with us, and we were kind of running and gunning from farm to farm, and we stopped by that farm, and and it was right before the 1 p.m. cutoff last year, so we didn't get to spend a lot of time on it. But Scott and I mean, we've seen and busted birds, while we were up there doing deer stuff or land management stuff almost every time. So I knew they were there.
Yeah.
So anyways, I woke up, I think at like 3:30 and kind of got everything ready. And then I let Cam sleep till probably 4:45. And like I said, I knew we were going to be late, but I thought, what the hell? I'd rather him sleep in a little bit. It's a long drive. We met up with Ben here from the office, and he was going to film. And so we headed up and got there about 7 o'clock, got to the gate about 7. And so we parked, right near the front gate, and there's a little bit of a drive back through an easement road through timber to get to my property. And so I hit the locator call right at the truck. We were quiet right there at the truck. I hit the locator call, crow call there, one of that DOD signature crow call, and nothing. And I thought, okay, well, we drove the tracker electric, the EV. We drove it about halfway back the easement road. And I thought, I'm going to hit the crow call one more time just to make sure like we don't pull up on something in my first field as you go to the gate.
Yeah.
And man, 3 just hammer, right.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm like, awesome. They're actually not that far, maybe 300-400 yards away. And I felt like they were kind of on my northeast property line, somewhere in there. And kind of in that corner, it meets my neighbor's timber, and then his neighbor, it has a big field. And I thought, I bet they're heading out to this field to, feed and peck and, do what they do in the morning time. And so we ditched the buggy and we scrambled with all of our gear, the decoys, the muddy ground blind, we scramble, and I popped the blind up, and I didn't know where they were going to be. So I didn't want to get too far into the farm. And so we just kind of propped it up. When you get into my farm, there's a rock pile there and a tree there. We propped it up right between them, and then we snuck up and put a avian HDR Jake, a feeder, and a laydown hen kind of on this knob, because the way the terrain goes is when you get into my farm, when you look up, which is north, when you look to the right, it kind of goes uphill, this first field. Okay. And I felt like they were up that hill somewhere. So by the time we got all that done, it was probably 7:30, by the time we got settled, because I didn't want to call until we were settled, because we had to get the bog pot up and the gun loaded and the gun up.
Yeah.
And, all that stuff. So anyways, we get settled and I start yelping a little bit, and they, I think in my journal write up in DeerCast, I said they gave me a courtesy walk away gobble, and I could tell they were, we had wasted 30 minutes there where they were probably just doing their thing and continuing to walk, and they hit it a couple more times, but they kept getting further away. And I thought, well, let's just sit here for a while and we'll continue to call a little bit. I yelped a little bit, and then a little bit later, Cameron wanted me to try the box call. That's, you probably experienced, well, maybe not with Zach and all those guys there, but when you've hunted with just you and Sophie, I'm sure you've experienced it where they're like, yeah, call.
Do something.
Entertain me.
I can't
entertain me, man.
Yeah.
So, I got the box call out, and that DOD signature box call, it's super loud and it really carries, and it wasn't windy at this point in the day. It was still early. And so it carried quite a bit. And I thought, well, maybe not the worst thing in the world. And then he wanted to try the slate call. So we got, Ben's got footage of him, doing a little bit of calling on the slate call. And, this has been over maybe 45 minutes, close to an hour. And the plan all along was, hey, right around 9, maybe we'll get out. If we're not hearing anything, we'll get out. And I do have intel of turkeys in the afternoon almost regularly around 2, where I feel like they're heading back our direction through my fields, heading to my clover, and then probably wherever they end up roosting in the evening. Okay. And I was like, let's go pop a blind up there and just be ready for the afternoon. I got a lease kind of near there. We can go run and gun between now and then. I was like, well, before we do that.
Like when you say run and gun, are you talking without the blind?
No, I had 2 blinds with me. And so run and gun, he's just not able to hold that gun, the weight of that gun. So we're always going to have the bog pod, which we could do. Like I told Ben leading into it, I was like, if we have to, we'll saw some cedar limbs and we'll create a little blind, and on the ground or whatever, it's fine. We could do that too, but we'd have to be pretty set up and ready. Yeah. And that's just part of youth hunting. I think, any mom or dad out there can probably relate to that. So I said, hey, look out your side, Ben, and I'll look out mine before we get out of this blind. Like, let's just look out and make sure there's nothing here. And he's looking out his side. I'm looking out mine, and we're kind of making a little bit of noise, like, moving around as we're doing that. And then, we look at each other like, what? Did you hear that? Yeah. Did you hear that? Yeah. And I think what happened was they circled around from where we kind of came in.
Yeah.
And it's a big stretch of timber right there. And my neighbor, he's really got his place. It's immaculate. He's got these lanes that, they mow and through his timber that, he sawed out, and he's got mowed lanes. And I think these gobblers just walked down this one of his lanes and hit the easement road. And we talked about it a lot. I think they missed where we parked our buggy by like maybe 15 yards, like in front of it. Cause there were so many lanes, they could have went the next one behind it, but I think they walked down and just missed the damn thing, which who knows if they would have kept coming or if they would have spooked. I would imagine they probably would have spooked. And anyways, so, I had actually unloaded the gun and put the bog pod down as we were going to leave. And so they gobble. And so I yelp a little bit, and they got the hammer again. I think it's 3 gobblers. And I'm like, okay, so we put everything back up and we scramble a little bit. Luckily we hadn't gotten out of the blind. And so I keep yelping a little bit, and man, they keep hammering. They keep getting closer and closer and closer. And this is
what direction are they coming in from?
From directly behind us. And so we never could see anything. That's because tough. The way I set the blind up,
it was wrong.
It was wrong. Well, and they're on my neighbor's property, and of course, it's not how I wanted it to go down. I was hoping they'd come down this field on my piece, see decoys, and we'll work down the field, and we'd be able to watch them come down the whole way. They just circled behind us and came in from behind us the whole way. So it was like probably 10 minutes of them slowly working, but you could tell they were getting closer and closer. And so you mentioned, I pulled out my cell phone and started filming cam. Of course, Ben was filming. We had Tacticams rolling, but I thought, well, since they're behind us, I was just the gobbling was so intense and loud. It kept getting closer. Cool. And I don't know. That's the feeling that keeps driving me back. And I think all turkey
it's
hunters.
A drug.
So I'm like, man, yes, he's experiencing this. Like last year for his first turkey kill, he was sleeping when they were doing that. And I was trying to wake him. Yeah, I was trying to wake him to get up because they came from behind us last year again or as well. So anyway, so they're coming in, and I think they get to like 10 yards behind us, and they're gobbling, and I'm trying to
hear them walking.
Yes, you could hear them walking. And I was trying to keep what Steve and Bo and Hunter Wall, all these guys were saying about the soft yelping, the soft calling when they're getting close.
Yeah.
And my mouth, I using a diaphragm call, I'm decent enough to be able to call one in, but the intricacies of calling still working on, work in progress. But I had that in my mind the entire time, like, don't get too fired up, just soft yelp. And so, it may not sound like the best, but I remember Steve told me, because I got a few extra lessons from him. Yeah. Bonus tips from him before he left. And I was like, so I called a little bit for him, and he was like, yeah, he goes, you'd be surprised. It's hard to spook a turkey with your mouth call. Like, it's hard to spook them. And so I just kept that in my mind. It's like, okay, I know not all these sound perfect, but just a little bit of soft yelping, and don't overcall, don't call too much. And they'd hammer back. And so I was filming Cameron's face. They were so close to us. He, at one point, like, he turns to the camera and he's got just the biggest grin on his face. And then he kind of hunches down by the stock of the gun, and he was like, kind of like, you could tell he was a little nervous. And then they hammer again, and he looks back and goes, oh God. Like, I got it all on camera on my phone. It was just, it was hilarious. But after the fact, he told me he thought they were going to come attack us from behind, get in the blind somehow. So that's what was going through his mind, was that they were behind us.
He's going to have to shoot one of these things.
And that's what he said. He goes, I go, what would you have done? He's like, I had the 410 ready, Dad.
Like, okay, Black Bart.
Yeah, it was just really funny. And so they're coming in, and Ben and I are looking at each other like, we're fired up. The turkeys are fired up. We're fired up. It's just really exciting exciting because you can never see them. And there was one little crack in the blind window, the back blind window, that I'm kind of leaning back to try to look through. I'm calling, I'm filming him with one hand, and I'm looking at Ben, and we're just like, where are these things?
Can't do anything about it.
And the fence has a bunch of grown up, whatever, I don't know what plants or whatever they are, but it's just real grown up there. Mm-hmm. And we had the muddy blind, but it was that mossy oak V360, I think. Mm-hmm. So it blended in really well. And the way, now looking back at it, the way you could see, if I'm guessing the turkeys were seeing the decoys on this knob, they could see that the sun was shining on the back of that HDR Jake. Okay. I bet it was like a beacon to them.
Yeah.
And so that lead gobbler he saw a red, man. And as soon as he finally crossed the gate and kind of came around this corner, I start hearing clucking, click, 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 click. And I'm like, shit, they're going to spook. And then he ran. I saw just through the crack of the blind window behind us, his beard. I'm like, okay, it's a long beard. I didn't know if they were going to be Jakes or long beards. I just had no idea.
Sure.
I thought they were long beards, but wasn't sure. And so he comes across and he took off running to the decoy. And then I heard a lot of clucking, and I'm like, the other turkeys, they just took off. I don't know where they went. We never saw them. I think they came across and that blind was sticking out to them, or else maybe
it was different.
Yeah, it was just different. But he saw the decoy and he had committed, and he ran right up to the decoy and he just stood there. And so when he came across, you could see it in my cell phone footage. Like I almost I don't know, it wasn't a panic, but it was almost a panic because I had to get Cameron's safety off the, I had to put it on fire. And I didn't know if that one longbeard was going to keep going. But as soon as he saw the decoy, he went straight to it and he stopped and he just stood there like a statue. And so I was like, Cameron, you on him? And he's like, on him. I'm like, shoot him.
now.
Like you said, like we're not waiting around. Mm-hmm. Like Sophie didn't wait around. We weren't messing around because the other turkeys already got out of there. And I didn't know if he was going to follow suit or what.
He could have done anything at that point.
Exactly. So and I got all this on camera too, which was pure luck because I'm like eyes rolled back in my head through this part of the process. And he lays it on him. I mean, it was seconds. The bird runs up. You see Cameron. He says, I go shoot him. He shoots him and it's done and over. And Ben had a Tacticam up there, and the longbeard, like when he gets shot, you just see his head. Like he rolls backwards right into the Tacticam. Like it was awesome.
Perfect.
It was awesome. And Cameron was super excited. And I don't know, man, it was just, he was more excited, I think, about this one because of the anticipation leading into it.
Yeah, that's a lot of excruciating waiting and hearing and not seeing.
Yeah.
Like when you take away the visuals, we're very visual creatures.
Yeah.
You take that away and it just I think it accentuates the gobbling because that's all you can focus on, especially if they're spitting and drumming back there too.
Yeah. It was intense. And it was weird. It's weird how this works. And I'm sure you've had, and I'm sure the listeners have had plenty of these moments through time, but something about how that hunt went down brought me back to a hunt as a kid with Dad in a farm where, Bill Carl was a guy from back home, used to date my sister for a long time. He's like a brother to me and a son to Dad. And we used to go hunt with him over in the wine garden area, back home, and they were loaded with birds, and we were on a hunt, and they were coming from behind us. We could never see them, and just the gobbling through the timber. And back then it wasn't really like ground blinds or anything like that. We were up against a tree and never did see the bird, never did see him, heard him spitting and drumming. He was right behind us. Something happened and he got out of there, but it took me back to that time instantly. And I don't know, it's just a weird rush of emotions. How I just got done watching The Colonel and the Fox a couple days before. And did you watch that whole thing?
I'm halfway through it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we're trying to get Daniel and Neil Hayes on to talk about this for the last episode of the Longbeard or the Young Gun series, but it's unbelievable. And I had times watching that of just getting emotional, laugh, through part of it, tears through part of it. But they describe that feeling, that exact feeling I just described in this hunt. They describe it so well. And it just, I don't know, it just brought it kind of full circle.
Yeah. I trying not to tear up here myself because I was watching it last night, and Sophie's room is downstairs, and I was doing a workout, and I was watching it while I was working out. And it just moved me so much. I had to go into her room and tell her again just how proud I was of her. And she was kind of half asleep. And so she was like, thanks, Dad. But like the fact that she's had this experience that she wants to continue. Yeah. I grew up without turkeys. Like we just didn't have turkeys around us. I didn't know anyone that turkey hunted. I didn't kill my first bird until I was 27 years old. And so like I'm so glad that my kid has the fortune of growing up as a turkey hunter with turkeys around. And for a lot of our country's history, that a lot of people, my dad grew up without turkeys around.
That documentary really highlights the story really, really well of the comeback of the wild turkey and the men that were responsible for it. So I would highly recommend going over to the Mossy Oak YouTube channel and checking that out if you haven't already. But it's just something about the overall, the overall experience was great, as I'm sure yours was and Sophie's was. And that's what I love about it. It's like, all right, I think he's hooked. I thought he was last year. I wasn't sure. And it's tough when you're having those experiences like you and Sophie have for like year after year after year to keep them coming back is really tough, especially in today's day and age when there's so many other things pulling youth sports or whatever, church groups or whatever it is, pulling them to do other things. It's hard to get time in the woods. And so to have success, that is what it's all about. And that hooks him for life. And so he was super excited. He was surprisingly excited. He doesn't get excited about much. So he was surprisingly telling me a lot leading into it, how excited he was, which is rare for him.
Great sign.
And I'm like, okay, he's hooked. And I think this just solidified it, and if we have some tough experiences down the road, we'll be able to get through those because he's got that little bit of the hit, this is what it can be like.
It's a total drug.
So, anyhow, congratulations to you guys. It's awesome.
Same.
Yeah. It's just an awesome experience.
Yeah.
We were texting back and forth that morning. I don't know, man, when you share and what we're doing, and it's always better with others, sharing it with your friends and 100%.
Family. So. And I was telling Forrest and Zach and Gabby, I was like, if this is the only thing that happens for my turkey season, I'm good.
Yeah. I was, we went around and messed around on the farms for the next few hours that day and moved some cameras around, and we went and scouted another piece for the regular season. And, Cameron, I just kept saying we're walking a little bit taller because Ben and I know, Cameron doesn't know, but Ben and I know, like,
Get that post-kill strut.
That's right. And sometimes, you get the turkey. Sometimes you are the turkey. I forget exactly the line. I think it's one of the colonels from the 10th Legion. But anyways, it's like today we're walking a little bit taller. I kept saying that. Then we got something to eat later on, and he got a milkshake, and it's just. I don't know, man. It's those days where you just don't forget it. And he fell asleep on the ride home. It's like, that's a day. We had us a day.
It's a real accomplishment. Yeah. Like, it's not leveling up in a video game. Yeah. It's not like some online cred that you get. It's a real life, real accomplishment.
He kept saying, he's like, I bet none of my friends ever got up this early. I bet none of my friends, ever shot it. I guarantee you none of your friends have, except Justin Lurk's son, Brady, has gone, and killed a few deer. I was like, no, none of your like school friends have no idea what this is like.
Different world altogether.
That's right. So anyways, congratulations.
Sweet. Yep. Same.
All right. We got some business.
We do. Let's help our buddy Austin out.
All right. So the question of the day is brought to you by Leupold Optics. Be relentless. So I'm looking forward to, we got a red dot on Cameron. He was just shooting open sights. I'm sure Sophie was as well on the 410.
She had a red dot on that. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
It's just so much easier for kids.
Yeah. We had I think it's a True Glow, or we had just a little one of those, little on the end of the barrel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
So that helps tremendously. Yeah, fiber optic. But no, on my turkey gun, on that NWTF edition, it's got the red dot from Leupold.
It's pretty tough.
It's pretty nice. Yeah. So all right. So Austin Madden from the Rack Pack, he says, I'm hunting a highly pressured farm. Birds hang up around 100 yards every year. What's the best tactic for better luck in this situation?
Well, if you got a buddy float calling, if you can get someone behind you, kind of like an elk style hunt, that way you cut that 100 yards down to something that's a little more manageable.
Yeah, that tends to be Mark and Terry and those guys. That's what I grew up hunting. That was the big tactic back then. There weren't really, nobody was fanning or doing any of the reaping or anything. So you always had almost always had a float caller going back and trying to drag them past you. I'd say the other option that would be helpful is a realistic decoy. It's unbelievable how deadly those can be. That HDR decoy. For me, the HDR Jake has been not the full strut Jake. It's
quarter strut.
Yeah, that's been the ticket.
Yeah,
and man, those longbeards really get pissed.
I just picked up some of the LCD, the Lifelike collapsible decoys, and I wasn't sure how, like, as long as I don't shoot them or someone shoots them, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
Those look killer too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know, you want to rely on your woodsmanship and your abilities to call on a turkey, but say you're only hunting by yourself and you don't have someone to float call for you. The decoy is a pretty good setup when they can visually see it from a ways out.
Yep.
If you're in a big field or whatever, and be able to work their way towards it. Now in the timber, I've never had a whole lot of luck with decoys in the timber unless it's like on a logging road where they can see it from
high
away.
visibility from a lot. You don't want to scare them with it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that would be, if you can get a buddy, like Tim said, to float call behind you, that'd be the first option.
My problem is getting a buddy.
Having a buddy.
I don't know how to do that. I'm not a good
I'm your
friend.
Tim.
Hey, you want to go float calling for me?
No.
Do I want you to do that?
No. Hey, I'm growing confidence with my.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. It's interesting because in my head it sounded pretty good, but then I listened to the footage. It's like, hey, but it worked.
Recording yourself is probably the best way because it does sound different in your head. The way the sound goes up your jawbone and everything.
What I noticed was the excitement of it. I was struggling a little bit to make the right noises. Like it wasn't coming. Exactly. It was kind of intense in that regard.
The same way when it gets in that close in game is tough.
But I didn't want to, in that blind, I could have probably used the slate, but I'm filming with one hand and I had kind of my hand behind him with the other one. And that's where it really comes in handy, hands-free.
Okay, so the wildlife word this week is brought to you by HS Strut DoD series of turkey calls. Check out the full line of Drury Outdoors signature turkey calls, designed by six-time world champion Mark Drury and approved by the DoD team. I just got a new ghost tongue call.
That's what I was running, and then Steve had me try, I think it was the tongue inverter, maybe. I forget which one it was, but he's like, no, that one sounds, he's like, the other one's a little raspy. And he said, it sounds fine, but this one sounds even better. And it had God, man, when we had Hunter and those guys on there, you're talking about the cuts.
Yeah. It's a whole nother world.
Yeah. So the ghost tongue is like a bat wing cut.
Yeah, it's got that kind of raspy V that hangs down.
Yeah.
Okay, so a wild turkey's ear lacks this part. What is it lacking? A drum, a canal, a pinna, which is like a cartilage or flap of skin on the outside, or a lobe.
I'm going to go with lobe.
Can you imagine a turkey with human ears on its side of its head?
Already.
I hear you. So you're saying lobe, D. It is pinna.
Damn you.
The outer cartilage or flap of skin. And they really do just have a hole in the side of their head.
Well, that's what I thought the lobe was.
But you know what? You're right, too. I don't see a lobe.
Can we both be right?
Or let's be wrong. I just pulled Sophie's like the skin off. I pulled the skin off the turkey that she shot. She shot it in the neck, so there was no beads and there was no shot in the skull. So I think I'm gonna do another Euro with it.
Nice.
So it was neat that it was in good shape.
Planned it.
Right. Yeah. We want to be able to remember this one. Put it up on the wall. Okay. Shout outs. You pieces of crap.
Oh, Tim. We need more shout outs. There's a nicer way to say it. We need shout outs, guys. We need you to go to your app store, wherever you listen, not the app store, wherever you listen.
Your podcast player. And leave a rating, leave a shout out, and we'll add it to the... Matt's the good cop. I'm the bad cop.
Yeah. So, but we need them. We need you guys to subscribe, to share the podcast. Help us out.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome.
We don't have any new Rack Pack members this week either.
It's kind of static there.
Yeah. Private Facebook group over in Facebook, believe it or not.
Yeah, you get bonus content that no one else sees.
Yeah.
Mostly because we're probably not allowed to share it anywhere else.
It's a fun little group though.
Yeah. 100%.
Almost 3,000 people over there and growing every day.
3,000
except for today, apparently.
Right. We've plateaued. All right, guys. Well, hey, look forward to the rest of our Young Gun Turkey hunting series. If you're out there having a great time in the turkey woods, we hope you guys are having success and love to see that in DeerCast and in the Rack Pack.
That's right. And be safe. You got to identify the targets. Be smart. Don't go reaping on public ground or something silly. Yeah. And just identify those targets. Be safe.
100%.
All right. Until next time.
See you guys.
Good luck. Peace out.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck.